But in order to get started, I need to give you 2 or 3 of my main takeaways from this book, because they're not explicitly written in the book, but I think this is foundational to understanding as we move forward in setting boundaries. So are you with me? You guys ready for this? All right, 3 of you are. Good stuff. Okay. Let's see. The first thing you need to know about boundaries is that God created boundaries. God created them. God's all about boundaries. God loves boundaries. He set them in place. He'll set them for you. God loves boundaries. And I tell people that it's the very first thing he does in the Bible is to set boundaries. So here, y'all follow along with me. We're going to read Genesis 1. I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. You'll pick up on some things a little bit as we get through, and you'll know where to repeat. But let's go to Genesis 1, the very beginning of our Bible. Genesis means new beginnings. We're going to go to Genesis 1, and we're going to start reading at the very first verse. Okay? So it says this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw the light was good, and he separated, say separated, the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening and there was morning on the first day. And then God said, "Let there be a vault between," say vault between, the waters to separate water from water. So God made the vault and separated the water from under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening and there was morning on the second day. And then God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered in one place." Say gathered in one place. And let the dry ground appear. Say appear. And it was so. God called the dry ground land and gathered the waters he called seas, and God saw that it was good. And then God said, "Let the land," say land, "produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it according to its various kinds," and it was so. The land, say land, produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kind, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening and there was morning. It was the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from night, and then let them serve as signs to mark," say signs to mark, "sacred times and days and years. And let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made 2, say 2, great lights, the greater light to govern the day and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky to give the light on the earth, and they were to govern the day and the night. Say, govern the day and night. And to separate, say separate, light from darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening and there was morning on the fourth day. And then God said, "Let the waters teem with living creatures." He said, say waters teem with living creatures. And then he said, "Let the birds fly above the earth." Say birds fly above the earth. Across the vault of the sky. So God created the great creatures of the sea and every living thing that which in the water that teems and moves about in it according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the waters in the sea, and let the birds increase on the earth." And there was evening and there was morning on the fifth day. Right? And we can continue on and on with this. But the key thing is see that God created, first he created the day and the night, the light and the dark, right? Everything has a separation. There are things to be done at night. There are things to be done in the day, right? Even then he says he gathered the waters together, and he said, "This is land, this is water." These things are separate. Matter of fact, I'm going to make things that can live in the water that can't live on the earth, and I'm going to make things that can live on the earth that won't live in the water, right? God set these boundaries in place, created domains and things for them to operate and live in and to grow and multiply and expand in, but they couldn't do it. You can't take a fish out of water and make him grow on land, right? There are things, God set boundaries. He set things on the earth in the way they're supposed to be done. And he kept saying, not only did he do it, but he said they're good. These are good boundaries. The sky is above us. The ground is below us. This is where things operate. This is how the world works, by God setting these boundaries for us initially. So when we understand that boundaries aren't apart from what God has for us, but they are a part of what God has for us, right? That we, as him, being in his image, operating in his image, when he says, go forth and multiply to us, he's saying, operate in my image, the image I've made you of God. Therefore, boundaries are healthy and good things for our domain that he's put us over to. And that dominion was given to us to say, I set the boundary here. This is as far as you go, no more. Right? This is where you get to grow, and the work is work. Home is home. Right? That we can set boundaries in our lives and in our relationships that help us everything to grow in a proper way. And God did that in Genesis 1. So when God created the world, he established these boundaries. This is what he did.